I'm Katie Chonakis. We're with a crew of people today. We're all going to introduce ourselves, and we're going to say one thing that we love most and why we're coming here today to add value and make an impact. And Axel Arzola, he's going to be with us shortly. He's the producer and cinematographer at Impact Theory. And you're going to learn today what Impact Theory means, what it is, the process, and we're going to have an exciting conversation just for you today. I'm Katie Chonakis. I'm an actor. I'm a voiceover actor, and I'm the host of the popular podcast called She's All Over the Place. I'm Greek. That's my heritage. And one fun thing I love about being in the filmmaking business is the creative color, the collaborations that we get to have that we're doing right now with this awesome panel who's going to join me. So who would like to start off first and introduce themselves and say one thing that you love so much about filmmaking and why we're here today?
I'd be happy to start. My name is Sterling Bax, and my pronouns are she, her, and they, them. And I'm mostly inspired by film and the way that we can really reach like such a huge audience and actually deliver those different impact theories and change the way that people think. That always gets me super inspired.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, we were just talking about communication before we jumped on here. The key of communication and behavior and being sensitive and being aware to those important needs and how they make impact on ourselves, our choices, the quality of our choices, and the stories that we're going to be telling. So who would like to go next?
Okay, I'll jump in. Hi, I'm Avril Jones, and I think the most important thing that I find fun about being in the film industry is telling the story, allowing people to voice their voice and whatever that story is, because everybody has a story inside of them, and that is impactful for at least one person in the world. So that's what I find fun about filmmaking.
Definitely, definitely. Cool.
Want me to jump in, Katie?
Please introduce yourself. What do you
Sure.
do? And how do you make an impact, and where are you from?
So my name is Warren Coughlin. I'm based in Toronto, Canada, and I'm not a filmmaker. I'm a business coach. But I have a weird eclectic background. I was an actor and theater director. I did voiceover work as well. My 13-year-old daughter is an aspiring filmmaker. I'm also a mentor at 2 incubators at the Canadian Film Centre, started by Norman Jewison. And so I think filmmaking is which is one of the most wonderful vehicles to reach lots of people with a creative vision and what's happening as a business. And that's one of my reasons why I'm here. I think people have great technical skills and creative vision, but to learn the business skills to help it be successful really kind of rounds it out. So I'm really excited to be here and part of the conversation.
Right. What you just said is so important. I just want to add value as a creative, as an independent person, like, growing up in the world and self-financing. And I make investments with like my network. I make investments with my health, body, mind, spirit, education, reading, knowing knowledge, and then not only understanding and knowing knowledge, but hacking and applying that knowledge, which is huge. But on a financial standpoint, I heard it was really important to even the wealthiest people in the world, they have investors. They're not like using their own money. Some people, a lot of people use their own money. And then there's like a saying, I just remember like an egoic saying, like growing up as a kid that the smartest people, they have their monies invested by other people. So have sponsors and raising funds and capital. So that's one aspect, and having the courage and the discipline and understanding the money aspect, because it's not show art, it's not show closet, it's not show emotion, it's show business. So like your attributes and what you offer and the education that you have to help female filmmakers, all gender, makers to understand like what it means from a fundamental level of the mechanics of finances. It's super important. And it's something I personally, obviously you can see I'm very passionate about, because I lack that, because I just want it to like magically happen. And I'm in my fantasy and my dream of like life. But then to be able to have different parts of the team, like we're here today, learning and connecting with one another. So I honor you and thank you for sharing that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And actually, one of the incubators in Toronto here at the Film Center is actually a feminist business incubator. So it's all women owners who have a feminist business philosophy and how to learn the business disciplines as part of that. So it's absolutely brilliant. And the last thing I'll add is just I'm a podcast host as well. I have a podcast called Business That Matters Spotlight, and it's for highlighting ethical entrepreneurs who want to build a business that matters.
Oh, I love that. That's so great. Oh, how wonderful. Okay, we're going to dive deeper. And ladies, or everyone, if you want to chime in on what you think about those stories, please feel free. And let's keep it going.
So I'd love to hear, I didn't hear from Avril what her focus is.
Okay, well, I'm a lot like you, Warren. I'll just start with, I went to NYU Tisch School of the Arts. So I've been in the film industry, the entertainment industry, actually since I was a teen. And then after that, I actually took a turn to learn more about finance, and I went into the automotive finance world.
Oh, interesting.
Before I came back to the entertainment world. What I do is I also do coaching, but I'm a strategist. So as a strategist and a marketer and a brander, what I do is I help companies tell their story in a methodical way, which is why I love now being an executive producer, PR strategist for Revere Films and Revere Entertainment.
And what are some questions when someone wants to find what you offer, what Warren offers? What are some questions people can ask? Because the counterpart of that is, well, how much is that going to cost me? Like people limit themselves and, are like, oh, what's going to be in my block? Like what's going to be the hesitant thing? So I'm not going to be able to push past and accelerate the boundaries for success. So what are some questions maybe people can have when they're seeking your support?
Absolutely. I think that's a great question. We are just as limited as we allow ourselves to be. So I think one of the most important questions is not what don't I know, but what I do know, and start from there. And then as a coach, I always try to meet people where they are. And also as a business, I always try to help them see what they already have as a great strategy instead of reinventing the world all over again. So starting where you are, taking that and really upping your game right from your strengths instead of trying to work on your deficits first, because what that does is it empowers you. It helps you feel that confidence. So if you're a storyteller, for example, hey, it's hard to write a story. It's even harder to make it into a film or a video, correct? So just start where you are. And don't try to reinvent the messaging. I mean, it always has to come from your heart in order for it to resonate with somebody. So starting where you are and trying to just meet people where they're at. And I think the biggest question is, where am I now? And then ask the question, where am I going to be a day from now, a week from now, 5 years from now? And then we work backwards.
One step at a time, right? Just build one step at a time. Good. And there's going to be those down days. We're going to feel bad. But the point is showing up, making an impact and doing it again. And just keep with the discipline of just showing up and just be our best, right? Like the 4 agreements, one of the agreements is just be our best. It's yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think everybody should read that book, by the way. So you should tell them what it is, because it is an incredible framework, not just for business, but for life, right?
Absolutely.
Sure. So for anyone tuning in who may not know, Miguel Ruiz wrote The 4 Agreements, his other book that is amazing for anyone who's making films and just creating stories. It's called Mastery of Love by Miguel Ruiz. But The 4 Agreements, even if you don't read the book, it's only 200 pages. It's a quick read. It's like amazing. But there's 4 agreements. You can look up what are the 4 agreements. Impeccable with your word. What I'm saying right now, what people are saying here, we understand that your time is very valuable. I was at a keynote at Worlds with Gary Vee one time, and he said the number one most important thing is our attention. We can only focus on one thing at a time. So what are we choosing to focus on? So by everyone tuning in and being here now, we respect and honor each other's times, and because we can be anywhere, but we choose to be here. So what are we learning? What can we grow from these things? So the 4 agreements is definitely amazing. Yeah. Great.
And if I could add just one, when you asked what are the questions, is that there's a couple of questions that I think are important too. And just given that we're here talking about impact theory and about social impact, one of the questions is, what do I not where am I going necessarily, but what do I want to achieve? What do I want to create? And what impact do I want to have? In the work I do with like ethical entrepreneurs, that's one of the core questions I come to with people is what's the impact I want to have with my business? Because money is lovely, but legacy really matters. And when you're in an an artistic creation, your impact potential is really profound. But one of the things that happens to a lot of entrepreneurs is there's kind of a pressure to do what other people have done. And it's really easy to get caught up in that if you don't take a breath and say, this is the impact I want to have. And then the second question is, what are the skills I need to develop to achieve that impact? Just as in film, there are concrete technical skills and artistic skills. Business is an art form. And there are disciplines and skills that are necessary to make that vision of your business to be realized. And when you can kind of get an inventory and say, these are the skill deficits I have, and these are the skills I need to add, then all of a sudden, it becomes like its own form of artistic creation.
Beautiful, beautiful. Sterling, would you like to add anything?
Totally. It's just really fun to hear that all of us were able to talk about core agreements. That wasn't something that we had planned at all. So I love that we've all read that. That's so cool. Which I think kind of speaks to the type of people that we're all, interested in having this conversation together. And I think that's really powerful and a great place to start from. The one thing that was really coming through for me was thinking about investments and the way that Larissa and I, when we talk about Hard Knock Productions and our social impact filmmaking, we really think about the investment we're making in our community and in our crew members and in what the whole kind of family looks like when we're creating a project. And thinking about investment, of course, as the financial aspect, as we've been talking about it, obviously that's a huge part, but thinking about investment in all those different ways. A couple of you alluded to it, but our time and the way that we want to make a change within a specific community, whether it's the land where we're filming or the story, like whose story we're telling, and really thinking about what that impact is going to look like and our own investment of storytelling really as like its own kind of currency and what that like long-term measurement can look like.
And what is Hard Knock Productions? Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Totally. Yeah. I realize I didn't give much of an intro, but for Hard Knock Productions, we're an indie film production company. We're based in San Diego and LA, and we do social impact filmmaking. So for us, that's really thinking about the impact we're making at every step of the process. So we're asking ourselves questions about whose story we're telling in the very beginning. We're looking at scripts. Who's in the room with us when we're actually developing that. And then when we're on set, we're thinking about crew members and how we're taking care of the people who are on set with us, what their actual stories are, and then what they need to feel taken care of. And then when we're actually telling the story, like thinking about who's on the lens and what impact are we having with that story and where it's eventually going to go. And then in post-production, thinking about social impact, everything that we learned this particular project around, like what worked and what didn't, or changing the way somebody might understand something. How are we making sure that the right people are being changed or being challenged is maybe a better way to say that.
How many people are on your team there right now?
It's Larissa and I.
Just the two of you? Oh, wow.
So
Amazing.
we're a tiny production house, but we obviously like our ethos is partnership and community building. So understanding really who we're partnering with and also kind of considering like our resources and our connections as investments. And then what we bring to each set and each project that we work on and really making sure that it's social impact strategy is our main thing. So what are we bringing to help the environment on each part of the set?
And that birth just from your own personal needs. The two of you, those were really important for you, and that's how you collaborated and then started the process of the production company?
Yeah, because we both have a background in creativity, and she is the founder. I'm her main support, but she's the founder of the company. And we both deeply care about art and understand that we believe that art is the best vehicle to really challenge and to hopefully, be part of birthing a new world and kind of consciousness around impact, right?
Yeah.
And so it's interesting though, because Larissa and I actually met at a medical device company. And so coming from the healthcare space and working within a very different Fortune 500 medical device kind of environment really changes the way I think that you look at the world. And again, like thinking of investment, thinking of impact you're having, we saw the negative aspects of the healthcare industry, which are huge, especially in America, of course.
Yeah.
And so being in an environment like that, I think really challenged both of our own value systems. And then when we thought about what do we want to change, like how do we want to have that impact, and then addressing that with things that we are passionate about and the vehicles that we believe in, that's kind of what it took to combine our resources and just create some vehicle that we can really work with other people in.
I love all this. And speaking of resources in the environment, let's talk about, how we're resourceful as filmmakers and we're creating. I would love to, start with Sterling and then open it up and let's talk about those important topics. Is that cool?
Totally. We just finished our feature film, Serpentine Pink, and that was filmed out in Joshua Tree. So, I know a lot of us are coming from LA, so we're familiar with Joshua Tree area, but it's, a delicate desert zone. And most people, I think, typically assume, well, I shouldn't say, I'm from Montana, so I assumed that the desert was a dead kind of ecosystem. I didn't think that there was much alive there, much to take care of. Very wrong. I've been very schooled in that. I love the desert now. But
yeah, I love the desert.
Yeah, it's so subtly alive and really beautiful in that way. And so that was something when we were filming and we went out to bring the crew on set, and we were thinking about all the different ways that we want to interact with the environment as well as take care of our crew and take care of our sets. So a lot of that for us was also we're going to be film budget. Like we're operating on a small budget.
So what is that small budget? If what could that be? Is that like 5,000, 20,000, 50,000? Like how could that look?
50,000.
Cool. Okay, so speaking of, we have good news in the house. Axel Arzola from Impact Theory is joining us. So step into the conversation. Axel, please. Thank you so much for being here. We love you and honor you. And we're talking about the environment right now and being resourceful as filmmakers. So Axel is from Impact Theory. He's a producer with Impact Theory and also the cinematographer. So we're excited to dive in deep with you right now. Hey, Axel, how are you?
Hey, guys, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Nice to see you.
Thanks.
Cool. So, did you two want to chime in about the environment and resources as filmmakers? And then Axel, maybe you want to share with us what you think about that too as a filmmaker when you're going to a project, how you can be more sustainable with the environment and, being resourceful.
Yeah, for sure. I had the chance to work before I was at Impact Theory. I worked at a feature film with Melissa McCarthy for Warner, and I was one of the assistants there, and they actually had a company-wide policy where they were trying to be more sustainable. So, when you're on a film set, you have crafty, you have 150 people in the crew, you have sodas and all kinds of like plastic bottles and all of that. And they literally hired 2 people just to go around with little paper cups that could be recycled later, super easy. And we were basically like a green production. And that's something that lately in the last few years has been pushed by a lot of the major studios. And I think that is something really smart, because when you look at it, it's a complex topic, but at the same time, there are so many things that we can do as filmmakers to try to reduce our footprint and the impact that we're doing in the environment. And just, you wouldn't think that is a big deal, but just removing all the plastic water bottles from an actual film production it saves so much in plastic and just waste in general. And that was really interesting. And at first, is having those changes is always something that is going to be hard at the beginning, but then after a while you kind of get used to it, and then you ask yourself, how did we ever not do this before?
Yeah, so, it makes so much sense, and it feels so good. One time I was on set, I mean, it's been more than one time, where people will just get one bottle, and then you write your name on it and you just refill it, and that's it. And it's like, that's the way it's going to go. And it's having a newfound level of respect in the workplace, but then for our fellow peers and one another, so thank you for sharing that. That's really beautiful.
Of course.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is really important, and people may not know this, but how you can make another impact on the investment side is to do brand partnerships with companies that are sustainable. And that means not just for craft, but how about this? Brand partnerships with eco-friendly automobiles, with do you see what I'm saying? So not only are you saving money on the budget because you're doing a brand partnership for product placement, but you're also making a statement about who you are coming out as the studio, as the producer, as the crew. And I think that helps spread that message of, we are a global citizen, and this is how we show our stewardship in that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they have massive boutique companies that go in their RVs, and they'll show up at sets with Mark Wahlberg, this one film I was in when they did Baby Boss 2 or whatever. And there's these things, and they come and they give all these honeybees and all these beautiful gifts, and it's environmentally friendly, on the set with craft service, and the choices of what Crafty's bringing for gluten-free and the quality, so things aren't processed and there's not a bunch of Cheetos or waste going on. So the smart investments of those qualities is really important. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Definitely.
There was one thing that we did that was hit and miss, but it was similar to that idea, April, where we partnered with a solar trailer company. And so they actually mainly work with construction companies, and that's where they're most successful. But it was a small trailer that was pulled behind with solar panels on it. And then on the inside of the trailer, you could plug in. So we had lights going into it. We had our cameras charging. We told the crew to use that for their phone chargers. And it was really awesome to get to experiment with that, because there were days where we were able to actually power a lot of our night shoots through using the solar trailer.
Nice.
Yeah, which is really cool. But there were definitely some days where we were trying to move the trailer because we're out, like I said, in Joshua Tree, and there were places that we could not get the trailer to go.
And at night, it's so windy and cold there.
Totally.
I mean, whew. Oh, Warren, you want to mention something? And then I'm going to zone in on what is impact theory?
Sure. Yeah. Just one comment that I think would be really interesting because the conversation so far, it's how social, the social utility of doing greening the business. But you've got producers who are getting investment and they want a return. One of the conversations that I think would be really interesting is to quantify the savings by doing green, to show the economic argument, not just the social argument, because when you can align those two things, then the producers are going to get online. Right. When there's a conflict between the social objective and the financial results, then you've got kind of a difficult negotiation. But if you have a tight procurement methodology where you're comparing, everything from laundering costumes using green laundering products to the craft to the whole supply procurement chain, when you can show either economic equivalence or an economic savings by going green, the argument you win. Now, the first time you do it is going to be harder. But once you've done a couple of films where you've started to build a roster of suppliers, that argument is going to be increasingly easy to make.
Very true. We're actually working on some of that stuff right now. And you'd be surprised how many times when we go to speak to someone who is at that C level to make those decisions, they actually are asking now, what are you guys doing for crafts? What are you guys doing as far as plastics? Are you teaming up with other companies? And part of it is because they also like Sterling was saying, there's an ecosystem that goes across the board of who you're working with, right? If you have a car company that is electric and they're putting out, let's just say Neo, right, is electric, and they're putting out electric cars, they don't want to also be in a film that is, has Hummers in it, let's say. So I think that's important that you bring up a great point. Absolutely. Axel, have you done anything with this type of negotiation so far? Oh, I don't know if he heard me.
Was that directed to me?
Yes, I'm sorry. I said, Axel, have you been able to negotiate anything with organizations on the green side of things?
No, unfortunately, I don't have any experience with that yet.
Yeah. Kelly from Ecos, the brand, she has an amazing brand, and she talks about this recently on my podcast. I honored her and had her on for Earth Day, Earth Week, Earth Month, but it's Earth Day every day. So thanks for bringing up that point. It's so important to bring up the conversation and ask the right questions and shape shift our way of thinking that may be uncomfortable or unknown, and we can explore that more. So it's really, really important. Cool. All right. If everyone's cool with it, we are talking about impact today and making a social impact and just making an impact in the world through storytelling, and how we're here together making an impact for, everyone tuning in and watching. So, Axel, I want to start by asking for, the people who maybe aren't familiar with impact theory, what does impact theory mean? Let's just go on a tangent here.
Yeah, so Impact Theory is a full multimedia studio founded by Tom and Lisa Bilyeu. They were the founders of Quest Nutrition, and they grew that company incredibly. They went from $0 to $1 billion in less than 5 years, and they were doing impact on the nutrition side of things with their protein bars and all that. But they were filmmakers, and they exited from that business, and they took everything that they learned and all the resources to go now and create Impact Theory Studios, where literally what we're trying to do is ignite human potential, inspire people through storytelling and content so they can be the best version of themselves, and so they can go out and make their dreams happen. So that's what we do at Impact Theory. Every piece of content that we create is trying to give you the tools and resources and the growth mindset so you can go and execute on your dreams, whether it's on the social side, whether it's for business, for art, whatever it is that people are going after. We just want to empower them to do the best and just make cool art at the same time.
Definitely. We're all here, a part of this collective mission. We're all like, yes, inside. Yes, that's me. Lisa is a boss. Oh my God. I've been watching Tom for years. My sister, Anna, shout out. She's amazing. So Huberman, Dr. Huberman was just on the podcast. Hello. You probably shot it, right? The cinematographer, you shot it?
I didn't shoot that one, no.
Okay, so I see Mel Robbins, what kind of people are on Tom's show, and what kind of people do they select and why?
Basically, we have the top minds of any field that you can think of. And right now, people might not know this, but we actually have 4 different shows. So we have the main show, Impact Theory, where you have Mel Robbins, Jay Shetty. We had
Ryan Holiday.
Ryan Holiday was on the other day. We have athletes. We had Gracie, the guy who created Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We had Jocko Willing, Gary Vaynerchuk. We had Ray Dalio, one of the most brilliant minds in economics in the world. And we also had Joe Dispenza, and it ranges on the main show on all kinds of topics. Then we have another show called Conversations with Tom, which is basically the same caliber of guests, but instead of just an interview kind of talk show, is more of a back and forth discussion where Tom can interact with the guest and they have more of a back and forth on ideas. And we try to think of it as a conversation where they're just free flowing and they're able to think in real time and talk about issues. So we have been doing a lot of episodes on the cryptocurrency space, NFTs, because there's a huge change that is coming to all media and technology based on that. And We also have Lisa's show, which is called Women of Impact, that has the most incredible women in business, media, psychologists, doctors, nutritionists, all kinds of topics. And we also have another show called Health Theory, which is basically the best doctors and scientists. And we have episodes on sleep, the brain, nutrition, all kinds of diets, all the different, there's like 222 different diets.
Yeah,
yes.
Homeostasis, mitigation.
Yes.
Definitely important topics.
We cover all of those ranges, and it's really interesting. And we have it's a small team still, but it's about 30 people now in the company. We have
31. I am like on the team. I am like showing up.
Well, we got to talk because we're all
showing up here. I mean, we're right here, yo. Seriously.
We need people. We're
actually here for you.
That's awesome. We're actually hiring like crazy. We're trying to find new producers, new editors, new people. And yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah. So talk about that, how people can be more a part of the community and get involved more with impact theory.
Well, the biggest community right now is online. So we have the main YouTube channel has like 2.3 million followers, and we have new episodes coming out 2-3 times a week. We're pretty active on Instagram, Facebook, and all of that. And we also have, which is a huge part of the company, we have an online university where we have a large amount of material that is already put in like categories, and you can follow a path as if it was a university, but way more flexible. And we cover everything on the mindset side of things. There's business classes, and we have a very vibrant community with a strong Facebook group where all of the students were enrolled in taking the classes. And we have live classes with the instructors too, where you can jump in and, like the same way we're doing here, you can ask questions to Tom or Lisa or Evie or Jim Quick, or like the person that is giving the class.
I love Jim Quick.
Yeah. So we have one of his classes is part of the university. So we're trying to create this huge like library of really high caliber classes meant for people to come in. And it's probably going to take you a year to go through all the content. But basically you can learn anything that you want in those topics. And then you have access to people who are learning the same things and who want to do the same kind of thing. So the Facebook community that we have for the university is super cool. And that's actually how I was able to make my way in and like finally be able to work with Tom and Lisa and all that. So.
And become a boss. What? And you are, so being an actor, being in films, it's being acting, the craft is in action. So it's not, trying, it's y'all are in action, making it happen. So major kudos to you and the team. Shout out to Impact Theory. We love you. Does anyone on the panel want to jump in and ask questions or thoughts, comments percolating from, what Axel just shared?
I just think it's amazing because every single one of those individuals I have actually looked at for years. And it's so nice that they're all in one little place instead of all over. And they do make an impact. I use lots of them for very different things. As a matter of fact, I use them when I coach my clients and direct. I think that's important. We were talking about that earlier. Mm-hmm. What kind of assets and resources do you use in business? Well, you're right. The rich invest and have people invest for them, but you have to invest in yourself. And part of that is seeking out someone who has experience in a different realm than you do and using them integratively into, your self-development. And I think that's very important. I think that is one of the biggest growth aspects that many entrepreneurs miss in whatever industry you're in, is you can't go it alone. You have to have somebody that you can lean on and somebody that has a different perspective so that you can grow. And so I think it's wonderful. Bravo. And congratulations on making your way in.
Thank you.
I actually have an interesting question, maybe around, because it is called impact theory and we're talking about impact.
Yeah.
And there's always an interesting tension, even in the work I do, I find, between education and action. Right. And so Do you have any ways of measuring impact or observing the impact that impact theory does? I mean, because you've got the educational pieces, like just free educational pieces, and then you've got the university and the courses. Do you have either anecdotally or statistically information on the difference that it's making for participants?
Definitely, yeah. We have Ambra. She's the lead of our community in the university, and she receives all the messages and all the letters that the students send. And every month we have challenges. And this was actually really interesting because when I went through the whole university program, and we have all these challenges. We have spreadsheets where people get teamed up. And the challenge, for example, we had on the business track, we had a challenge about building audience. So the whole challenge was in the next 30 days, what are you going to do to reach your first 1,000 committed followers for people who were starting their business and doing their marketing? So basically you had all of these people that you are accountable to, and we have spreadsheets with your name and the actions that you're going to be doing by week and tracking the goals. We're very hard on like, how do you track progress? Because if you don't know where you're going, like there's no way, oh, this can be all nice and dandy, but if you don't have the numbers to back up the progress, there's no point. So we were doing those challenges. And then on every week, we have a big team meeting where we go through the top 3 goals that the studio has. And they're pretty transparent, and everything is with numbers and with revenue and with how many people get into the university and all of that. So we go through all of that. And at the end of every one of those weekly meetings, we have Ambra read a message from someone in the community. And we had all kinds of stories. We had a lady who started the university, and she created this nonprofit to bring to a third world country these incubators where they could take care of babies. And like, she sent this huge letter. It was a lady that was already in like her late 50s. She had this dream of something that she wanted to do, and she never thought that she could like actually do it, Then she starts on the university. She starts taking the classes and taking action with the students and all the friends that you make in the community. And then she sent us the picture. She had like over like a few dozen of these incubators in this country. Like, I think it was in Russia or some place like that. And we were all like, this is why we're doing all this content, to actually get people the knowledge that they need to go out and take action. So that's a great question, Warren. And we're all about results.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah. So I have a question. As a cinematographer, and you're shooting Tom and the guests and Lisa, like aesthetically, how are you feeling? What's your process as a cinematographer? Lenses you like to use, lighting, some technical, but the vibe, like you're like, okay, we're going to go to this location. And what kind of, is it the same camera? What kind of cameras do you use and rotate?
Yeah, for everything that happens on the set, we have a pre-lit, pre-done set, and we have these guides with the framing, with pictures of what the size of the framing has to be, the diagram where the lights have to go. So right now we're shooting with Canon C200s, and we have 6 cameras. And we shoot all of them, and we have a Sony camera that is on a slider that gives you the moving shot for the interviews. Everything, when I started in the company, they already have been doing the setup for so long, so they already had the system of everything. Then my position in the company, I'm a creative producer, and I work directly under Lisa. And basically and Lisa is the president of the studio, and she's
she's Greek, and she's shout out to the Greeks.
Yes.
Boss. Yeah.
Yes. And she's the chief content officer. So everything content wise goes under her, and then I'm her creative brain. So I'm always pushing to make things look better, but also is this push and pull of, it has to look amazing because we want to be the best, but it also has to come under time and under budget because we have a business that we're running, and there's only so much that you could do. So we try to play the balance, and we're always pushing both ways until we can get that balance. So when I started, everyone in the company is open to say, hey, that looks bad. And then you have to explain why it looks bad. So it comes down for me as a cinematographer, it comes down to, it has to be well exposed. So it cannot be over the 100 nits, or the shadows cannot be crushed. So we have waveforms in the camera, and I'm going to get technical because I guess the people who are watching the crew, like, they're technical. So it has to fit that parameter with your waveform. And that's how we judge that. So whenever I see, like, I'm not on set all the time. We have another person, Eric Rios. He's in charge of all the production. I'm more of a creative person, and I oversee different projects that go out. And then I'm also on the lookout for anything that might not be looking the best. I raise the flag and say, hey, that shot was underexposed. Why? What were the settings? So we are always trying to do that, and also make it into a system so anyone can, like, tomorrow, if I have to go and I have to shoot like a show because Eric cannot do it, I can come in with we have a PDF with every camera. This is the ISO level. This is the aperture that we're going to use. This is the white balance that we're going to use. So we created that system because it works on that show. Now, we just started a new show called Unstoppable that is with Lisa and Evie Pompuras. She's a former Secret Service agent. And it's
like BFF, right? Like, I always see her. I only follow her because of Lisa. Like, but she's Greek too, so it's like, what's up? You know what I mean?
Yes, they're awesome. So that show, we're trying to push the envelope and do something different. So it's still, at its core, it's a talk show, and we have 3 main segments, and they discuss one topic throughout the whole show. So it's like a 45-minute show. It's almost like doing like an actual, it goes out on YouTube, but we're getting like that. In 2 weeks, it already passed like 175,000 views, and her previous interviews has like 1.3 million views. So it's reaching a lot of people, which is really cool. And we're trying to take that same interview, and now how do we break that down and add segments that are more creative and fun? Because also they love to do like new things. So we followed the same structure for the camera setup for the sit-down interviews. Then for the segments that we go to different locations inside the parameters of what we can do, we take 2 of those cameras. And for that, we mix a little bit more of like whatever the lighting is going to be or all of that. We shot some things with a Canon EOS R. It was a smaller camera that we had some walk and talks. And believe it or not, like the main shot that is on the intro of the show, I got it with my iPhone because we were shooting.
Which one? Which iPhone?
It was the 12.
Okay, cool. I have the 11 Pro. So I have the 3 cameras. Does everyone else have the 3 cameras around here shooting stuff on your iPhone by chance? No.
No.
Not yet.
No. Not yet. Yeah. It's great quality. So I have a question, Axel. So so when you're mentioning stuff, it's like, it's so important, the technicality and the numbers and everything to be so in sync, understandably, ultimately for success, financial, everything, for the imposter syndrome of wanting everything to be perfect. But for someone just getting started or like overwhelmed and they don't know text, but they feel things, and obviously having a collective and a team is so important, and the communication to have things written down, to build language. So the stuff you're saying, it's because behind it, there's maybe like, if Lisa wakes up at 4 a.m, has ideas, maybe there's like a Google Drive where it's a collective incubator of like a cloud of like, these are all the thoughts, right? So people can collaborate on Google Drives and collaborate different ways. And someone who's maybe just wanting to shoot maybe a music video, or they have an idea, but they're like, obviously the macro Steven Spielberg or, like Chinatown, like amazing film, but someone who just like, let me just tell a slice of story, and I'm so scared. And to get past the emotional boundary and the fear, intimidation, but the vigorous, like courageousness to like, and the excitement to make that as well. So all the emotional stuff, channeling, right? Firing and wiring, like Dr. Joe Dispenza would say, like how, like, and not having the technical aspect. Let's talk about like the imposter syndrome of just starting messy and just going and starting it and having your first baby out there to look at, right? So maybe like they can say, okay, now it's out. Now let me do another one. They can reference that back to someone as they grow a collective team and say, hey, I have this idea. But then you can always shoot the financial dream goal aspect that you're talking about later, right? And maybe someone could get financiers that way and stuff. So if you could share about any of that process for filmmakers, imposter syndrome would be really ideal.
Yeah, for sure. I started about 15 years ago. I'm from Cuba. So when I started making little films and music videos, I was in Cuba and I had no access to the internet. We didn't have cameras. I didn't own a computer. Everything was like on borrowed equipment. The first thing that I would recommend that person starting out is work on something that you actually care about and that you're actually passionate about, because it's going to be so difficult that if you don't have that to begin with, it's going to be really hard for you to just keep working on it. So that would be the first thing. Work on something that you're really passionate and that speaks to you. Second step will be, what version of that project can you actually create right now? Mm-hmm. And don't go with, if you're passionate about a story and you want to make it is on a space station and you have aliens running around, that's going to be really hard to produce. So is there a way that you can produce and be creative about how do I make the space station? Maybe I built a little model and then I'm going to light it in a way that it looks cool, or I'm going to go and watch a couple tutorials on After Effects and maybe I can use something that someone else used. Like, you need to get creative, but what's the version that you can actually make right now that you can actually execute on? And then third, I would say find other people to work with you, because that's going to make such a huge difference. I mean, people don't realize how hard it is to make everything. And when you watch a movie, if you wait for the credits, it's like 350 people. You are not supposed to know everything. And it's okay. You're not supposed to know everything on the sound, on the camera, on the editing, on the special effects, on the script, on the directing, on the producing. That, like I just mentioned, like 7 different categories that are completely its own world, and they're so complicated. So don't feel like you have to know everything. Just focus on what's the thing that you want to be good at, and then find other people to create that team, and that friendship is going to be amazing.
I love what you said. And I also want to add to that, because I know you can identify, probably you and everyone on the panel here, that a lot, when I was, producing other filmmakers, and I saw their very first project, it's like, okay, the producers, the financiers, they're like, let me give you $100,000, $50,000 for directing, $50,000 for writing, and then are just here's $100,000. But as a writer, but at first time filmmakers are so attached to that passionate idea that you're talking about that they squeeze the life out of it, and they self-sabotage, and they don't actually get it made a lot of times. And it's self-sabotage because they're so attached to their passionate idea, where it's like, I saw a lot of filmmakers when they come, it's like, okay, I've seen offers like, oh, here's $100,000, like take the money and run, direct your second picture, get your first one made with international foreign sales. Let's get the right actor. Let's get the right number. Let's get the movie made. Then you have money in building in your, in your platform, in your account, a cushion for yourself. So then you can go out to shoot the other ideas. So have you seen that in your experiences? Some choices filmmakers have made to maybe disable them from having ultimate success in working with the team because they didn't trust the bigger vision for the whole project and they just wanted to do it all by themselves?
Yeah, I've definitely seen that many, many times. And they always end up spending more money, more time, and then the product just not as good. There is plenty to go around. And the people that you run into who are afraid to share with you, don't even worry about it. They're not going to get that far ahead, because at least in my experience, whenever I have worked on a studio project and I've worked on several TV shows and features, it's so many people and everyone is like trying to like play games on each other. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a good team, like you either hate the project, and even if the movie is good, at the end, all the people who worked on it, they're like, we don't even care. So.
I hope this is being recorded. My 13-year-old daughter just wrote a script for a short film, and she's actually filmed most of it herself with me as an actor in it. And what you said is so, I think, inspiring, and to hear from somebody who's been successful at it, to give that kind of advice is brilliant. So I thank you for that.
That's awesome. We need to see that film.
Yeah, it's actually, I'm biased, but man, she actually did a wonderful job on the script.
Great. I would love to check it out.
Cool. So, Sterling, do you want to add any value or thoughts about what Axel was talking about? So you just created your first feature film. Does someone want to chat about that?
Yeah, and everything that Axel said was so spot on and very inspiring for sure. That's one of the biggest things that, we as a team had to realize. You have to have a crew that trusts each other. Like that is kind of the first and foremost, almost to bring it back to the original concept of currency and investment, like trust being so critical, because there are really intense time periods that are happening. There are so many goals you're trying to hit, and tensions are going to get high no matter what. No matter how much prep you do, something's going to go wrong. And so there's just this need, and I find it to be a really beautiful kind of community-based idea around you can trust the person next to you that they're going to deliver. And then like the idea of teamwork and working together. For us, like our director and our cinematographer were these two women that didn't know each other, hadn't worked together creatively before. But there just started to be some decisions that had to be made super quick. And that was something where the two of them sat down together, and our director just let Liz know. She was like, you know what? I can't see this shot because I have to stand over here to do some directing, this like really crazy psychic scene we were doing in the rocks. Mm-hmm. And so that was something where our director had to say, hey, Liz, I trust you and your vision 100%. Like,
that's important. Trust is so important.
Yeah.
I love that. Does anyone else want to talk about an experience they learned about trust in the workplace with community, and trusting yourself, and trusting and how to trust, or like trusting your instincts even, and to go with the flow, where you maybe made someone want to tell a story of an impact of something that they learned from being on set, or, with your professions?
I have I'm interested. I got a ton of stories, but I won't bore people with them. I'm interested from Axel within impact theory. I'm always fascinated by organizations that have a very overt social impact mission, and how the internal values get navigated when there are temptations. Like you're wanting to have a social impact, but as you said, you got a business and you got cost constraints and time constraints and resourcing constraints. And are there times when those constraints and time pressures bump up against the stated values, and how does that get navigated? Like, do the values yield, or does the money yield, and how does that get negotiated?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. For us, I think it comes down from the top. So our founders, Tom and Lisa, they have so much money that they don't care about money. Like, they have stupid money, like stupid money. They sold that company for $1 billion, and they were the founders. They had other partners, but they took home a lot of money, and they literally said, we don't care about this money, but we know that it's useful, and we want to be wealthy. Like they're not going to blow their money away, but they're taking all of those resources because they want to actually help people. And I think because of that, every decision that we do on content is this going to actually help someone? Like, everything that we do is thinking of that 13-year-old kid that is trying to make something of themselves, and maybe they don't think that they can, maybe they don't know what's possible. That's the person that we're trying to inspire and give information to. And whatever we do has to match that. Like, I've been in conversations with Lisa where we have had people talking about, we can go and produce this TV show and do this and do that. And it sounds super cool idea, super interesting. We can make a ton of money. And she's like, but you know what? Like, is that really going to help someone? Like, everything goes down through that filter. So, and we all can push back. If anyone is trying to pitch an idea that is only going after the money, if it's both things can be fulfilled, making a lot of money and helping people, we're all for it. If it's just for the money, we are not going to do it. Like, a good example, people know that on YouTube, you can make a lot of revenue if you place ads and if you do this and that. And like if the thumbnail, you make it really clickbaity and it has like an incendiary title to make people click. We have to play the line where how do we make the most compelling thumbnail so people click on it, but it cannot be like shady. It cannot be fake. So whenever something feels like, hey, that thumbnail, it feels like we're getting close to that line. People, like, we have our text messages where we discuss things. We're like, yeah, that doesn't look like us. Like, that's not what we stand for. And everyone, like, the moment that you're getting close to doing something just to get the click, if you're not adding value, we're like, no, we're not going to do that, because it doesn't matter if we make money with that. It's not who we are.
And it's so intricate too, because, even in the micro of YouTube, using the colors red, white, and black, just having a specific thumbnail that you create gets more clicks. And you can't sell people false dream and idea. People don't like it. We don't feel good. It's all about our feelings, Well, speaking of feelings, I'm over emotional and excited, and it's been a great conversation. It just flew past, and I want everyone to stay connected. And how can we find each other? Axel, let's start with you. How can we find you? What are your social media handles? And then, let's start there, please.
Yeah, if you just search my name, Axel Arzola, I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram. And I love connecting with people. So I would love to know more about Warren and Sterling and Avril and Katie, of course. I think we're already on Instagram. So
yes, we're following each other.
Yesterday, yeah. Yes. So I would love to connect with you guys, and I would love to watch Sterling's movie and Warren's daughter short.
Yeah, and Warren, I added you on the LinkedIn. Where can people? I added you on LinkedIn yesterday. You added me back. Where else can people find you? And how can they
I just dropped in there. My website is warrencoughlin.com.
Great.
And for people who are entrepreneurs, I actually have a ton of like free resources on there that can help, everything from managing team, managing financials, doing sales management. And then there's some really, really cheap, low cost courses on there for developing entrepreneurial skills. And then I'm heavily on LinkedIn and on Facebook, which is Facebook.com/a business that matters.
Great. Who would like to go next?
I will. So actually it's Avril Axel, and it's like a thrill to meet you. I just typed in my Instagram handle. It's AJMech1. So you guys can reach out and I will follow back. I am all over LinkedIn. I do keep my Facebook page personal because that's the space where I connect with my friends and family from over the last 50 years. My handle on Twitter is MavGirl2938. I'll type it in. So the name of my company is actually MENC, which stands for Maverick Enterprises and Consulting. So I think of myself as being a maverick. And you can just, reach out and absolutely let's stay in touch. I'd love Warren to see that short when it's done. Maybe she can enter it into Sundance. And Sterling, you have to let us know where we can get a hold of your movie so that we
yes,
can
please.
Absolutely, for sure. Katie, it'd be great to follow you. And I'm also on Clubhouse, you guys.
I love Clubhouse. Yeah.
You'll see me drop in a lot of the film and TV. And then don't forget, I'm one of the newest executives at Revere Studios. And then Revere, so I'm really excited that I'm the only female executive. So I'm really excited about that. Looking to do some hiring very soon. Once we get up and rolling, we'll be in Florida and Atlanta. And
I love Atlanta.
We're going to change the face of Hollywood. It's going to be family friendly, very, very socially responsible films. You guys will all enjoy it.
Great. Cool. All right. And Sterling, you put everything in the box. Did you want to verbalize anything?
Yeah, we just launched our social media. So we're just that's all fresh and you can follow it. And we also have a website. And yeah, I'm excited to stay connected. And if anybody wants to reach out or just has questions or anything like that, we're totally open to it.
Thank you, Sterling. So everyone tuning in, it's been a big pleasure. The power of yes, yes, show up, follow everyone on social, say, hey, I have a crazy idea. I just want to share, you inspired me. I want to tell you this and that. I'm Katie Chonakis, the host for today. I have a podcast called She's All Over the Place podcast. I would love for you to tune in, check it out, connect with me more. I'm on all the social media platforms, just Chonakis, my Greek last name, Chonacas. All right, it's been really real. Thanks so much for being here. Peace out.
Thanks, everybody. Great to meet everyone.
You might be looking at Shoot Stop Video and thinking, so how does this all work? Is this about A, setting up the whole crew for me? B, just giving me options and having me handle it? Or C, something in between? Well, it's D, all of the above. To put it simply, we're here to help you in any way that we can to get the crew and talent you need for your next production. We believe that every level of video production can benefit from a well-maintained list of qualified crew members for every position. This goes for pre-pro, on-set, and for post. Every project is different, so if you need a producer to help manage the decision-making process, then we can totally do that. If you're already a producer and want to build your own crew from scratch, then go for it. We're here to make your next production a success. And if you are crew or talent looking for producers that want you, then you've come to the right place. Sign up now, and also leave a referral for any solid people that you know that are already on here. Thank you for considering Shoot Stop Video, and happy shooting!